Well, hi once again, everybody. I'm David Paulson, and this is In Conversation. Of course, our Claresholm Public Library series of conversations with people who have a connection to Claresholm or maybe come from Claresholm, people with kind of interesting stories to tell, and you can check them out, of course, on our YouTube channel with the Claresholm Public Library. And I'm really excited today because our special guest is the Town of Claresholm Fire Chief, Craig White. And Craig, first of all, welcome to In Conversation, and thanks for taking the time to join us today.
Oh, thanks for having me, David. I appreciate it.
So, Craig, let's start with a little bit about Craig White. Are you a Claresholm guy, or how did you come to make this town your home?
Well, I was born and raised in Claresholm. Did all my schooling here, and parents are from here, so have quite a bit of history in Claresholm. And I went to university in Lethbridge, did a degree at the University of Lethbridge, and then I got into emergency services with ambulance at first. I've been paramedic since 2003, and then I got into fire in 2016 when I joined the Claresholm Fire Department.
So tell me how that came about. Did you always have an interest in volunteer fire department, or did that come later?
The fire department thing kind of came later. EMS and paramedics was kind of where I was driven towards, but once I got stationed in Claresholm, my partner at the time was on the volunteer department, so when our shifts would coincide with the training night, I would accompany him to the fire hall, and just by process of, I guess, peer pressure, kind of said, hey, we got an opening, you should apply, and so finally they wouldn't take no anymore, so I put in an application, and I guess the rest is history.
So now you said that was in 2016. So tell us about your progression, because now obviously in 2021 you are the fire chief here. How did that come about?
So again, joined the department as a volunteer paper call member. Did the training that was offered by the department, and they happened to have an opening for a deputy chief after there was some movement at the top. Applied for that, interviewed, was the successful candidate for the volunteer deputy chief position. I did that for about a year, and then there was some other movement in the area. The chief at the time moved on. The town posted the fire chief position. I applied with many others. I mean, it was an open competition throughout the province, and I was a successful candidate and took over full-time chief in January of 2020.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, you and I were chatting earlier, and you mentioned that volunteer fire department is almost a little bit of a misnomer because the members are not entirely volunteer. Let me talk about that.
Sure. So they're not truly volunteer in the sense that they aren't paid for their time that they give for calls and training. They are paid per call and they're paid per hour of training. But they are volunteer in the sense that they are taking that time away from other things they, could be doing with their family and whatnot, and giving that time back to the town and the community. So,
now let's talk a little bit about how people become part of the volunteer fire department and the recruiting process that takes place.
Sure. So we do have applications on our website. The town has them on their website, and again, a lot of it is word of mouth from members in the department. If they know somebody that's kind of, hey, what's the fire department about, or I might be interested in doing that, then they'll say, well, here's an application, you should probably fill it in. And then when we do have an opening, those individuals are brought in for an interview with myself and the deputy chief. They're then invited to attend a training night where they observe the training and see just kind of what all we do. And then after the training, before we have our bi-weekly meetings, they'll come in and do a meet and greet with the members and get a chance to ask questions of the membership. And the members can ask them questions as well. And then if they're successful, they're brought onto the department. Or if not, their name is held. And the next time there's a vacancy, we invite them back again.
So now we've recruited someone into the organization. Now let's talk a little bit about the training. Let's talk about the training first of all for the new members.
Sure. So when a member is first brought on, we don't just throw them a pager and say, yeah, when this makes noise, come jump on the fire truck and we'll throw you into a house fire. Before they're even issued their pager, there is a 40-hour recruit course that they do kind of on a lot of bookwork at home, and then they meet with their captain or lieutenant at the hall and do some skills training. So they know how to get into gear properly and efficiently and safely, and some basic firefighting skills such as hooking hose to a hydrant or something similar to that. And then every 2 weeks we have training on the first and third Wednesday of every month.
Now that's not just for the new folks. That's
Nope,
for
that's
everybody.
for everybody.
Okay.
Yeah. So they do their training course. They get their pager. They're signed off by the officers. Then every 2 weeks, everybody comes to training. We do various training, and then it works about every 2 years. We offer the full 1001 professional firefighter program, and we break it up into 2 different years, just so. Usually in the fall we find that there's members that like to go hunting or have harvesting to do and whatnot, so we don't like to take them away from that. We like to run the courses through the winter where, what else is there to do when it's 40 below out, right? So come in, get some learning done, and by the end of it, they're internationally certified 1001 professional firefighters. They get the same education and training that you would get if you took the program at Vermilion College at Fire Etc. up there. It's the same sealed, recognized program. So, and we've actually had members that have gone on from Claresholm to become professional firefighters in other jurisdictions, just because they have this training already. So it puts them that much further ahead in their application process.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, we also talked about the fact that you respond to more than just fires, even though it's called the fire department. But there are other emergencies that you're involved with.
Sure. Motor vehicle collisions. So anything out on the highway, rollovers, stuff like that. We also do a lot of medical first responses and co-responses to assist EMS. Again, because of the rural location, having backup for them is not as easy as it is in, say, the cities. So they will ask for hands, say, with a lift assist if they need to get somebody, say, up a hill or out of a basement or something like that, and they just need the extra manpower. We come in handy for that. Or if they're busy on another event and another EMS call comes in, they will send us first, and we will attend the scene until EMS gets there. So a lot of as part of the training, everyone's trained and certified in basic first aid and CPR. And then above that, we do have members that are registered primary care and advanced care paramedics on the department. So they have those extra skills that they can put to use before the ambulance gets there.
So now you've been involved with the department since 2016 and a year and a half or so in the chief's chair.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about what are the biggest challenges that you would see as a volunteer fire department has to face?
Well, the last 16 months, COVID has been a thorn in our side.
In what way? Now, talk about that, because I was going to ask you that.
Okay. So here you are, a brand new chief in a position. A month later, COVID is really on the radar and starting to become an issue. And nobody really knew what it was or how to handle it at first. And we had discussions. Is it really this big of a deal? Are they making too much out of it? Or are we not doing enough? So in early March, the decision came down that we were going to suspend our training. We had a 1001 class in progress. It was halted at the time. And we just weren't sure what the best way to proceed was. We knew putting people in rooms for training was probably not a great idea. So we thought, okay, let's try and keep everybody out of the hall. We did some online training just to keep the members interested and up to date. But again, it was such an evolving situation that we were just kind of flying by the seat of our pants. We were still responding to fires and big events and other things, but the more routine stuff we kind of just put on hold until we had a better grasp on it. And then coming out of the spring, when the first relaunch was done, we started reintegrating in-person training. Again, numbers and cohorts and stuff really weren't established yet, so we decided that, we would split the members and we would do half one Wednesday and then half another Wednesday. Again, just trying to keep it small, and if we did get a case, then we weren't going to bring down the whole department because of it. And that was our biggest fear, was getting a case in and then knocking out the whole department. So luckily we've been able to avoid that, and yeah, we've gone through the highs and lows of that. But one of the things that we did during the lows of the first lockdown was started the birthday drive-by program. We kind of borrowed that from other fire departments, but it really took off in town, and it wasn't just for kids. We did some for some seniors in town and some people that had special anniversary milestones, and it was, by the time we were finishing up, when people heard the fire trucks coming, they were lining the streets and waving, and
That's great.
and it was a great morale booster for the town and the kids at heart. So it was, and it gave our members something to do too. It got them out of the house and a bit of regularity back to their lives.
That is such a cool program. My mom is in Calgary in a seniors care center, and I know the fire department guys came to one of her neighbors in the home turned 100. And so they had a little birthday thing, and of course they couldn't go into the home, but they ran the ladder up the side and up to the window of her room and had the balloons and stuff, and I thought that was great.
Oh, that's fantastic! Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are amazing for that. So I'm a rural guy, Craig, and so let's talk a little bit about grass fires, because that has a particular resonance for me and for most rural people, and I know for you, because there are special challenges I'm sure associated with grass fires.
Right. So everybody is aware of the event we had just a couple months ago here at the end of March, and that was an extraordinary event, and I'm hoping it's one of those 1 in 100-year events. But yeah, I mean, in my 41 years here in Claresholm, it's definitely the first time I've seen it, so hopefully it's another 40 before I see it again. But with the grass fire moving that fast, it's hard to get on top of it, let alone ahead of it to try and put it out. So it's the combined efforts of not just the fire department in Claresholm, but we called on resources from our other MD partners, Fort Macleod, Granham, Staveley, Nanton, as far out to we had trucks come down from Turner Valley and Lethbridge County just trying to help us, as well as Ag and Forestry with airplanes in the air, mapping it, letting the members on the ground know where they could go to, get ahead of it and try and manage this. And yeah, I mean, it was a crazy situation, but within 12 hours we had it pretty much under control and down to hot spots. And I mean, the mop up and whatnot took weeks after, but I mean, again, thanks to everybody who came out to help in that event. And like I said, it's not just the fire departments. I mean, we had the farmers, the members from the Hutterite colonies, bringing water, food, all that you need to keep everybody on their feet for an event like that, and we definitely couldn't do it without them.
So one of the things I also just wanted to visit real quickly about, and that is, you've got your members in place. How do you prepare for something? Because a grass fire, for example, is not just a grass fire. It's the wind that oftentimes adds a whole other dimension. How are you able to kind of prepare for that, or do you have to kind of do it on the fly?
So as part of the training, every year there's a specific wildland, grassland firefighting course that we do, and it teaches the strategies and tactics how to best attack a grass fire without putting the members in danger. So you get to learn different ways of attack and whatnot, but like you say, it's not just the grass. I mean, it can run into structures, and then you have a structure fire coupled with a grass fire or a wildland fire. And fighting a grass fire on the east side of Highway 2 is completely different than fighting it 10 miles west out in the Porcupine Hills, which I think a week after we had out at Barton's there, right? So it's just different strategies and tactics. And I mean, we rely on, so especially out west, Ag and Forestry is usually brought in earlier than later because they're the specialists in that area, and so we'll rely on their expertise. We have the base knowledge, but we're going to rely on them to tell us, this is a better way to do this, or you guys are doing great, keep going. And that's a lot of hard work. It's trudging up and down hills, and it's a lot of handwork despite the advances made with our apparatus that have pump and roll capability, which means we can just hang a hose out the window and spray as we drive along fence lines and whatnot. But at some point you have to get down there with a broom or an axe and chop through Carragana roots and make sure it's all extinguished. So yeah.
Okay. One last question, Craig, and again, this is something that I, as an observer, wouldn't have known, and you and I talked about it, and that is the fact. I think a lot of people think of volunteer fire department, it's a guy thing. But it really isn't. For example, here in Claresholm, there are women involved, and I would think that's something that's probably going to grow.
Absolutely. We brought our first female member on about 2.5 years ago, and since that time we've had a total of three on the department, and they've come and gone for various reasons, work, moving, whatever, stuff like that. But the first lady that we brought on is still on the department. She just finished her first level professional firefighter course successfully, and she actually heads up our fundraising committee right now. So she's the one in charge of the golf tournament here that's coming up in August, and she also spearheaded the firefighter calendar campaign that ran last fall. That's funding our rope rescue equipment right now. So shout out to her. She's been a great addition to the hall, and yeah, I can't say enough good things about having them on the department. There's no reason they can't. They can do anything a man can do on the department. So.
Well, Craig White, first of all, Fire Chief for the town of Claresholm, thank you so very much for taking the time. I know you're a very busy guy, and we appreciate having you on in conversation and learned a ton today, and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, David, for having me. I appreciate being here, and yeah, this series is interesting. I've learned a fair bit about the other interviews you've done online as I watched them, so I think it's a great idea.
Well, thanks so much again. And that's our time for now, everybody, but hope you'll join us for other sessions of In Conversation. Once again, it's on the Claresholm Public Library YouTube channel. Our guest today, Craig White, a big thank you to him, and what a great job our town of Claresholm Fire Department does in every day of the year. They're just so important to us. So a big thank you to Craig and to all of his members as well. Until next time, I'm David Paulson saying, so long, everybody. See you then.